Alright, so I'm going to be doing a little rundown of Be Quiet and Drive. Got basically 4 important sections here. We've got the guitar, which makes a lot of the sound. Get the bass. Don't ask me why it's doing that. I compressed it way too much, but it sounds good, so I don't care. We've got a little synth that just gives a little oomph to the guitars. I actually took this from what they were doing on their self-titled album on Minerva, I believe. They do that as well with the synth under the guitar. It might be a little less strong, but it still adds to the sound a lot. We got the vocals. And then lastly, of course, drums. Actually, that's not last. We've also got the noise down here. It's mostly just interference and this little ring here. We've also got the bridge here. I believe actually this was all these guitar parts were recorded on like super cheapo Strat. It's called like a Starcaster or something. They sell them at like Walmart, and they're technically Fender, but they're made with like the cheapest parts possible. And I got mine out of a dumpster. So, if you know what you're doing, the guitar don't matter. It's the player. So, starting with something easy like the intro guitar. Basically, all my guitars are amp simmed through Helix, but really, any basic amp sim can do any of this. Before this, I used guitar. It's not that great, but it's cheap. I would recommend looking for other options out there. Helix is my favorite that I've used so far, just because it's so versatile. But like Amp Hub offers one for $10 a month. Down here we've got the rhythm guitars. As you can see, I've got 4 of them going. I've got one on the left. I do believe, if I throw this in mono, I do believe that there are slight differences in these two. Yeah, so as you can see, I put little minor differences between these 2 left-panned guitars. They're both panned to the same ear, but I just gave them slightly different settings. Just on the EQ. But that was just to give both guitars a little bit of a different texture. If you want as well, you can also go in and change up the EQ a little bit. You've got like one that's EQ'd here, another that's EQ'd here, something like that, It helps when you're double tracking or quadruple tracking, whatever this is, to give the guitars a little bit of a different tone, because you can have 2 of the same guitar, one panned left, one panned right, but makes it a little more interesting sonically if they sound slightly different as well. You can hear like this one's a little more trebly, it's more bassy, I believe, or more MIDI. Scientific measurements, I know. So anyways, yeah, that's about it for the rhythm guitars. Oh, we've got also this clean guitar for this section. Without it, it's alright, but fills out the sides. As you can see, it's super. Okay, it's the chorus. Got an EQ kind of rolling off the low end on that one. Got a slight I got a repitch on here. This is a tip for those of y'all with garbage guitars. I went in here and I had to adjust the intonation a little bit. I don't recommend this as like a industry standard practice. This is not a professional practice at all. But my guitar, when I play it up that high, it's out of tune because it's garbage. So I just threw a repitch on there, kind of give it a little oomph. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Make do with what you got. Anyways, here's the only other interesting section I can talk about with the guitar is this part. All of these are different takes, by the way. Don't try to avoid copy and pasting. Well, I mean, they're. I'm sure some of them are copy and pasted like across. Like I'm sure that's the same clip right there. 042. Yeah. But from track to track, make sure you use different clips. It's just part of standard double tracking. If you don't know how that works, there are plenty of videos explaining that. I have forgotten how to use Reaper. Give me a second. All right. So here I've got a bunch of different takes, just trying to get the sound right out of this part, which is, kind of difficult to do with a Stratocaster, with a bad Stratocaster. But I mean, like I said, make do with what you got. The reason I got this tone, by the way, is because in Helix, I started with a preset for Be Quiet and Drive. If you look online, there are like presets if you have Helix. If you don't have Helix, then just try to model this general tone. This is kind of the space that it takes up. I don't know how much that helps or conveys the tone, but if you look online for, if not presets, then just videos of people covering it and stuff like that. Use different sources, not just the original tracks, but also other people recreating the tone. Look up how people made the tone.
Bass.
So with the bass, I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Yeah. I've got for some reason an insanely strong. If you listen to the kick here, you'll actually hear what's happening. We've got a sidechain compression going on here. I've got the kick inputting into the compressor, and it's just knocking that bass down. Just gives the kick a little bit more oomph through the track. Yeah, I didn't realize how bad realize how whoa, that's weird. I didn't realize how bad this sounds in mono, which is bad practice. You always want to check your mix in mono as frequent as possible. But I suck, so I didn't do that.
Tell them to bring out the
synth, honestly, I just got like a sine wave because I figured that would help fill out the. Okay, it's a square wave. Figured it would help fill out the sound a little more. So with the drums, I got a stereo processor on it because I don't know, it sounds good. Once again, I'm not the best at following common practice, but every once in a while you just can throw stuff on there and it sounds good. And if you can put something on a track and it improves the quality of the track within the context of the mix, and it's not destructive in any way, it's not lessening the quality of any other tracks by using it, then why not, As far as getting the individual tones of the drum set, first of all, let me say, using Superior Drummer, I've got all these running through MIDI pretty much, Superior Drummer 3. As far as getting the tones out of these that I needed, with the kick, I've just got a simple drum replacer here, and I've got a library full of different drums I can use for that. Melda Production's great. They make a lot of great plugins. I found myself using a lot of drum replacers lately. Um, as you can see, this one sounds garbage without it. But basically what it does is it just takes the original sound and it puts another drum sample over it. I've got the mix set so it's got still about 60% the original drum sound, but just this on top of it because this was missing a lot of that click. And if you listen to the original track for Be Quiet and Drive, the snare is very snappy. So that's what I was trying to mimic here. And part of the reason for partially mixing it and not full mixing it is because you still want to preserve the differences in the sound from different hits and different dynamics. And actually, you can also set the leveling here. I've got it off on the kick, and I've got it a little bit up on the snare, which kind of just raises and lowers the level based on the dynamics of the original sound. The snare bottom, I don't really have anything coming out of that. As you can see, it's also catching a lot from the kick. Hat, just a little bit of a compressor on there. I don't know if that's common practice. Oh god, I don't know if that's exactly common practice either, but it's a rundown of what I did do, not what I should have done. The overheads, we got one of these bad boys. Pretty sure most of what it's doing is it's got a compressor in there, and it kind of changes the tone its own way, but really just compression. Compression's the main thing. Playing with the EQ. Make sure you get a good steady tone or that hi-hat. There's really not a lot going on down here. I mean, looks like there is. But I've got like a bunch of different just granular noises. As well as this amp ring. I believe I got a track 12, which is where it says that's from. Yeah, I just cranked my amp setting super high and wrung out my amp. And then got 2 different samples of that and panned them left and right. As far as the vocals, I've got the main takes from the video. I did this in a couple straight takes because I wanted it to be very natural, and I wanted to be able to use as many of the same exact video clips. A lot of what you're seeing is the same take. I did sub out a few other takes in there because getting a good tone out of just a few takes is really difficult to do, let alone one take. So don't limit yourself to like only a couple vocal takes. Most songs I take, like when I'm narrowing down the sound I want to get, I'll retake a part like, I don't know, as many times as I need, up to 20, 30, more times even, some like 50 if it's a difficult part. What we're working off here is just kind of a little cheeky plugin here that just does vocal processing off the bat. It's got EQ, it's got a compressor, got a de-esser. Those are the main things you need. Is EQ that kind of pushes down the low end and brings up the high end to clarify. Compressor to make sure it doesn't peak too much. I've also got a vocal rider right before it that evens out the volume, just so that this has an easier time figuring out what I want to keep and what I don't. I've got a few things on here to just bring out the stereo in the sounds, because yeah, very straightforward. More stereo, it's fun. We've got this that you can hear every time I press stop. Oh, okay, this is on top of a delay that's already inside of the nectar. So I've got the nectar, and then I've got the super tap as well, which you can hear. It's just a little bit of a quick slap. I love pumping reverb on my vocals because I mean, usually my music that I make is very floaty and very I don't know, shoegazy. Even though it's not like hardcore shoegaze, it's just got a lot of that floaty quality, and reverb really helps to smooth out vocals and make them not sound like they're just shot in your bedroom, which is where I do all my recording. Notice I've got, yeah, you can see why I didn't have that one. I've just got like all my old takes that I didn't use from this down here, just turned down super low, so I can kind of give this main take a little more. It adds to the stereo, and it also just fills in all the little cracks that this main take has. Down here you can see the add it to this part a little bit. So at this part, pretty much is when I switch, the song switches from being just one main vocal to two vocals, kind of call and response. So this stays the main vocal for the aggressive vocals, and then I used this track, which is a little bit quieter, and oh man, I got so many things on there. This stuff is not all necessary. I'm just not very efficient. As you can see, they're very similar mixing wise. I left the little breathing bits in here. Just usually you'd want to cut this, like that little breath here. Yeah, it's jarring. But I left it in just for the sake of recording a very natural cover. And also Deftones is just very breathy. Once again, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not claiming to be a genius here. I just made this and people were interested. So this is how I did it. This section just has a bunch. You see here, I've just got a little bit of the backing. So this is like a junk track right here. This is from the first time I did this part. Messed up the melody a little bit, but I kind of just turned it down a bunch, and I put it on the backup vocals track. And you can't really tell in context. As you can see at this section, the main vocals for each part still carry their weight, but just by adding the extras, it's just there to fill in the gaps, you know what I'm saying? Last part I haven't talked about yet is the master track. Without the master track, sounds a little bit weaker. I'll go in order of what I've put on here. First of all, I've got a little bit of an equalizer that just basically it's just a mastering starter. Comes with an equalizer, but you can see it's just turning down the lows a little bit. I think I've adjusted it a little bit, but kind of finding areas that sounded like they could use a boost. Generally, you don't want to just use more than like 3.5. After that, I've got a multi-band compressor on here, so I can apply different amounts to the high end. I've doubled up my limiters. Trying to think of why. I don't really know. I prefer to have two than, at least for master track, I prefer to have two than just turning up one limiter. By the way, most of these things are not exclusive to these plugins. Obviously equalizer, but even stuff like multi-band compressors, limiters, you don't need to have Melda Productions. You don't need to have the same plugins I do for basically any of the stuff that I do. There are free alternatives. Just look around online. There's a lot of resources that you can use if you you search hard enough. Last thing I have is this little analyzer plugin that kind of gives you the general gist of where you're aiming with the final product. And then I also have a mix checker on here. I usually put that on the monitor effect. Definitely don't use this as a complete cop-out for listening on different speakers. I always listen to my mixes on, I've got headphones, I've got studio monitors, Kirk 7s, Kirks are good starter studio monitors from what I've heard, especially like the 5s, pretty affordable for what they are at least. I usually, when I'm working on a mix, I'll make like a billion versions of it. As you can see here, I've got like a billion versions of each thing that I'm working on. The names are weird. My working titles are always weird, so don't ask. Boop-bop.wav. It's great. But I make like a billion different versions of each of the mixes as I'm working on them, as I make little bits of progress in them, and then what I'll do is I'll sync them all up to Google Drive, which allows me to then open it up on my phone, listen through my phone speakers, listen through my earbuds, listen in my car speakers, and just from getting perspectives from different audio sources, it really helps you both get a fresh understanding of what your mix sounds like, as well as also figuring out what changes you need to make. Like, is the kick too loud and I can't hear it because my studio headphones handle bass a lot better than most, or just, don't have as much bass, especially stuff in the high and low frequencies, or even just the tone of the sound of the guitars or whatever is going to sound a lot different on studio headphones or studio monitors compared to like a car. You don't want to mix it for just one of those things because you're going to get in the car or you're going to get wherever, you're going to distribute it. People are going to listen to it on their normal stuff and it's going to sound horrible. Whenever you're working on a mix, just keep making minute changes. Come back to it every once in a while. Take breaks often so that you have a little bit to refresh your ears. And yeah, that's how I made Be Quiet and Drive. The cover.